Kayne, have you heard about what Straton said about the trash?
Yeah, so apparently there's a trash bin and a recycling bin, but there's been some irregularities where they end up getting combined into the same bin at the end of the day, and there aren't actually two separate bins.
Yeah, I think we should advocate for a better system.
Yeah, because I definitely want to improve our ecological footprint, and one way to do that is to make sure that recycling is going into a separate bin than the trash is going into.
Wait, that's a good idea. Let's email the principal. All set.
So this is our biology project, and what we're going to do is we're going to be showing you guys how we measure the weight of the trash, the recycling, and then the actual recycling.
Today, we are presenting our Ecology Project on improving recycling at Straton High School. Our group members are Kayne, Pavan, Simone, and Tahiya. For our project, we want to see whether improving recycling education could reduce contamination in recycling bins and make our school more environmentally friendly. Before talking about our solution, it's important to understand why recycling matters in the first place. When recyclable materials are thrown away instead of being recycled, they often end up in landfills. And as waste decomposes, it releases greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. One of the biggest concerns is methane gas. Methane is responsible for around 10% of global methane emissions and is much more effective at trapping heat than carbon dioxide. In fact, over a 20-year period, methane traps more than 80 times as much as heat. And because of this, landfills play a major role in climate change and global warming. Since landfills have such a large environmental impact, we looked at ways to reduce the amount of waste and ending up in them. One of the best ways to reduce landfill waste is through recycling. Research shows that recycling between 2020 and 2050 could prevent almost 6 gigatons of carbon dioxide emissions. That's equivalent to taking more than 1 billion cars off the road for an entire year. Recycling also saves energy. For example, making products from recycled plastics and metals use much less energy than producing them from raw materials. Overall, recycling helps conserve resources, reduce emissions, and lower the amount of waste sent to landfills. Based on this research, we decided our main solution. Our solution focused on improving recycling programs at Straton High School. We created flyers and educational materials that encourage students to separate recyclable materials from trash. We also focused on improving signage so students would better understand what belongs in recycling bins. Our goal was to reduce contamination and make recycling more effective throughout the school. Like any solution, there were both advantages and disadvantages. There were several reasons why we believed this solution would work. First, recycling keeps materials out of landfills, which reduces methane and carbon dioxide emissions. Second, recycling saves energy because producing materials from recycled products requires less energy than making them from raw materials. Another reason is that educational campaigns have been successful elsewhere. For example, Washington, D.C. reduced its recycling contamination rate from 33% to just 11% through education and outreach. Finally, our solution was inexpensive because it mainly involved flyers and advertisements. However, there still were some possible challenges. One challenge is that students may place non-recyclable materials into recycling bins. Another issue is that some students may simply ignore the flyers or advertisements. And additionally, recycling still requires transportation and processing, which uses energy, and printing large numbers of flyers, and also reprinting large numbers of flyers requires papers. And even with these drawbacks, we still felt the benefits outweighed the costs. We also considered another possible solution, but however, we didn't decide to use it. Our second idea was reducing single-use plastics in schools and replacing them with reusable or compostable materials. While this could reduce plastic waste, our research question was, can we make an impact on our school system by changing recycling protocols and making recycling more accessible to students and staff? Our hypothesis was, if recycling protocols and signage are better managed, and recycling opportunities are made available for students and staff, then Straton High School can become greener overall. The independent variable was the recycling signage and educational materials we introduced. The dependent variable was the effectiveness of recycling, which we measured by comparing the amount of correctly recycled material before and after flyers were implemented. We also kept the factors such as the number of recycling bins and the amount of recyclable material used as control variables. After setting up our experiment, we also collected and analyzed data. Sure. So this is the first of our project. We get a trash bin, we make sure it's fastened correctly, we spin it right in there, and we place it on the scale. Make sure we turn it on, let it hit it twice so it lets become 0. We place it, and then this stuff can be hard all the time. So we make sure we put it on the edge so we can see how much it actually is. and we see that it is 299 grams. So then we make sure everything's put that correctly. Put in the data for each thing.
So here we're gonna go to trash, and this is 299 grams. But what we need to keep in mind is that the bag weighs 14 grams. So we do 299 grams minus 14 grams.
285. Now time for step 2, where we weigh our recycling bin. So first thing we do is we grab it again, make sure it's tight and fast. Now we weigh it on our scale. We click twice, make sure it's 0 before we do anything, and then we put it here and. And as you can see, that says 612 grams. So now we take it off and we put it in a data sheet. Good take off, Kayne.
So now we're gonna go to the recycling section, and it said 612 grams, right?
Yes. Okay, for now for step 3, we're gonna go in and look to see if there's any trash and stuff that are not supposed to be recycled.
In the recycling bin.
In the recycling, yeah.
So we look through this, and like a paper towel that shouldn't be in the recycling.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put it in this separate bag for here. This paper bag shouldn't be there either.
Yeah, we should have put that. That shouldn't be recycled.
And what this will do is it'll help us. Now that this bag will actually only be things that
Celsius
actually
that's
are.
not supposed to be in here.
Yeah. So what's left is this will actually be the correctly recycled things.
Yeah. There's you know,
Yeah, that paper towel there.
paper towel.
That seems to be it. And then we're gonna put this in there too. All right. So what's
now
left?
we have all our stuff that are supposed to be recycled.
So what's left in this is the actual amount of recycling.
So now what we do is we would remove this from the bin. We do the same thing, but now we're weighing it. Which is actually supposed to be a proper recycling. So we go back to this, and now we put it on the scale.
And what we would expect is this actually weighs less than before, because we actually took out a lot of the recycling.
So 585 grams.
So when we subtract 4. So as you can see from our procedure, we accurately measure the weight of the trash, the recycling, and then the actual recycling by separating the materials that should be recycled from the materials that should not be recycled. So the next step in our plan is we're going to put up flyers around the school talking about proper recycling and what to actually recycle, and we're going to send a message out on Schoology. The goal of this is that after we advertise about how to properly recycle, a higher percentage of material As you can see, this task was not easy. We had to go to around 10 different classrooms and measure the weight of the trash, the recycling, and then the actual recycling. We measured the weight of the actual recycling by going through the recycling bin and separating the materials that could be recycled, such as bottles or paper, from the materials that shouldn't be recycled. And then we measured the weight of the materials that actually should be recycled. Okay, so now we'll be going over the data from our project.
So for our final reflections, our hypothesis was supported. After improving recycling education and signage, recycling accuracy increased from 77.7 to 90.7%, which is nearly a 13% improvement. This shows that better awareness helped students recycle more accurately. Since our project was successful, we'd like to continue these efforts. Yes, we plan to continue promoting proper recycling habits. Recycling helps conserve resources, save energy, and reduce waste, making it an easy way to have a positive environmental impact. Our project could also be expanded beyond Sharon High School. Similar recycling education programs could be implemented throughout the Sharon School District and in public spaces. The principal of Heights Elementary has already shown interest in our flyers and recycling initiative. And in addition to education, laws and regulations can also help recycling. Massachusetts has several laws that encourage recycling, including the bottle bill, which gives consumers a refund for returning certain containers up to 5 cents. The state also limits where recyclable materials can be sent to landfills. These policies help increase recycling rates and reduce waste. In conclusion, our project showed that a simple and low-cost solution can make a real difference. By increasing recycling accuracy from 77.7% to 90.7%, we demonstrated that education and awareness can help make Sharon High School